Sophia gazed out the window of her small apartment, watching raindrops race down the glass. At 35, she felt her life had stalled, stuck in a dead-end job, perpetually single, and wondering if she'd ever find true love and happiness. With a sigh, she turned away from the dreary view and picked up her phone, scrolling mindlessly through social media. An ad caught her eye. "Adventure of a lifetime. Join our 3-month volunteer program in Thailand." On impulse, Sophia clicked the link. As she read about teaching English to children in rural villages, helping at elephant sanctuaries, and exploring ancient temples, a spark of excitement ignited within her. This could be exactly what she needed to shake up her life. Before she could talk herself out of it, Sophia applied for the program. To her shock and delight, she was accepted just days later. In a whirlwind of activity, she quit her job, gave up her apartment lease, and packed her life into a single backpack. As her plane took off bound for Bangkok, Sophia's heart raced with nervous anticipation. She had no idea what adventures awaited her on the other side of the world. After 2 days of orientation in the bustling capital city, Sophia and the other volunteers piled into a van for the long drive north to Chiang Mai. As lush jungle and misty mountains rolled by outside the window, Sophia chatted with her seatmate, a friendly Australian named Emma. "So what made you decide to volunteer in Thailand?" Emma asked. Sophia hesitated, unsure how to answer. "I guess I just needed a change," she said finally. "My life back home felt stagnant. I was hoping for some excitement, maybe even to find myself." Emma nodded knowingly. "I get that. Sometimes you have to shake things up to figure out who you really are and what you want." When they arrived at the volunteer house on the outskirts of Chiang Mai, Sophia was assigned to a room with 3 other women. As she unpacked her meager belongings, she felt a mix of excitement and trepidation about the unknown experiences that lay ahead. The next morning, Sophia and the other volunteers piled into Songthao's, open-air taxi trucks, for the bumpy ride to the small village where they'd be teaching. As they bounced along rutted dirt roads, Sophia's nervousness grew. She'd never taught before. What if she was terrible at it? But as soon as they arrived at the tiny schoolhouse, Sophia's fears melted away. A crowd of beaming children swarmed around them, eager to meet the new teachers. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and Sophia found herself grinning as tiny hands grabbed hers, pulling her towards the classroom. For the next few weeks, Sophia threw herself into teaching with passion. Though the work was challenging, she found it deeply rewarding. Seeing the children's faces light up when they grasped a new concept filled her with joy. In the evenings, she bonded with the other volunteers over communal dinners and card games. For the first time in years, Sophia felt truly alive and purposeful. One Saturday, the volunteers had a free day to explore Chiang Mai. Sophia and Emma decided to visit some of the city's famous temples. As they wandered the grounds of Wat Phra Singh, marveling at the ornate golden stupas, Sophia noticed a man sketching nearby. Intrigued, she wandered over to peek at his drawing. "Wow, that's really good," she said, admiring his detailed sketch of the temple. The man looked up with a smile that made Sophia's heart skip a beat. He was strikingly handsome, with warm brown eyes and an easy charm. "Thank you," he said. "I'm Ethan. Are you visiting Chiang Mai?" "I'm Sophia. I'm actually here volunteering for a few months, teaching English in a village outside the city." Ethan's eyes lit up with interest. "That's wonderful. I'd love to hear more about it. Would you like to grab a coffee?" Sophia hesitated for just a moment before agreeing. She and Emma had planned to explore more temples, but something about Ethan drew her in. She quickly explained to Emma, who gave her a knowing wink before heading off on her own. Over iced coffees at a nearby cafe, Sophia and Ethan talked for hours. She learned he was an artist from London, traveling around Southeast Asia for inspiration. He was fascinated by her volunteer work and peppered her with questions about the children she taught. As the afternoon wore on, neither seemed eager to end the conversation. "Would you like to get dinner?" Ethan asked. "I know a great little place by the river." Sophia agreed without hesitation. As they strolled through the twilight streets, she felt a spark of connection she hadn't experienced in years. Ethan was kind, funny, and genuinely interested in her thoughts and experiences. For the first time in a long time, Sophia felt seen and appreciated. Over the next few weeks, Sophia and Ethan spent every free moment together. He showed her his favorite hidden temples and markets in Chiang Mai. She brought him to meet the children at her school, delighting in how easily he connected with them through his art. On weekends, they took day trips to nearby waterfalls and elephant sanctuaries. Sophia found herself opening up to Ethan in a way she never had with anyone before. She confided her fears and insecurities, her hopes and dreams. He listened without judgment, offering gentle encouragement and support. For the first time, Sophia felt truly understood and accepted for who she was. As her feelings for Ethan deepened, however, a gnawing anxiety grew in the back of Sophia's mind. Their time together had an expiration date. In just a few short weeks, she'd be heading home while he continued his travels. The thought of saying goodbye filled her with dread. One evening, as they sat on the banks of the Ping River watching the sunset, Sophia couldn't hold back her fears any longer. "Ethan," she began hesitantly, "what's going to happen when I leave? I don't want to lose you." Ethan was quiet for a long moment, his brow furrowed in thought. Finally, he turned to her with a soft smile. "Sophia, meeting you has been the most incredible, unexpected gift. These past weeks with you have shown me what true connection and love can be. I don't want to lose you either." Sophia's heart soared at his words, but uncertainty still nagged at her. "But how can we make it work? We live on opposite sides of the world." Ethan took her hand, his touch sending tingles up her arm. "I don't have all the answers," he said, "but I know that what we have is worth fighting for. If you're willing to try, so am I. We'll figure it out together." Tears pricked Sophia's eyes as hope and joy welled up within her. She leaned in and kissed Ethan softly, pouring all her emotions into the gesture. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant pinks and oranges, Sophia felt a sense of peace settle over her. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she and Ethan would face them as a team. The final weeks of Sophia's time in Thailand flew by in a blur of stolen moments with Ethan and bittersweet goodbyes to the children she'd grown to love. On her last night, Ethan surprised her with a romantic dinner at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the twinkling lights of Chiang Mai. As they sipped champagne and gazed out at the city, Ethan pulled a small box from his pocket. Sophia's breath caught in her throat as he opened it to reveal a delicate silver necklace with a small elephant charm. "To remember our time here," Ethan said softly as he fastened it around her neck, "and as a promise that this isn't the end for us, but just the beginning." Sophia blinked back tears as she touched the charm. "It's perfect," she whispered. "I'll treasure it always." The next morning, Ethan accompanied Sophia to the airport. As they stood at the security checkpoint, neither wanted to let go. "I'll see you soon," Ethan promised, pulling her close. "We'll make this work, I swear it." Sophia nodded, trying to memorize every detail of his face. "I love you," she said. "I love you too," Ethan replied, kissing her deeply. With a final embrace, Sophia forced herself to walk away. As she went through security, she kept glancing back to see Ethan watching her, his hand raised in farewell. It wasn't until she boarded the plane that the tears finally fell. The next few months were a roller coaster of emotions for Sophia. Being back home felt strange after her transformative time in Thailand. She missed the children, the vibrant culture, and most of all, Ethan. They talked every day via video chat, but the distance was still painful. Sophia threw herself into job hunting, determined to find work that was meaningful and fulfilling like her volunteer experience had been. She eventually landed a position at a non-profit organization that provided educational resources to underprivileged children. The work was challenging but deeply rewarding. Meanwhile, she and Ethan navigated the complexities of a long-distance relationship. They sent care packages, planned virtual date nights, and talked for hours about their days. It wasn't easy, but their connection remained strong. They were both committed to making it work until they could be together again. 4 months after Sophia's return, Ethan surprised her with news that he'd been commissioned for a series of paintings in New York. He'd be there for at least 6 months, much closer than London. Sophia was overjoyed at the prospect of being able to visit each other more easily. Their reunion in New York was magical. As soon as Sophia saw Ethan waiting for her at the airport, she ran into his arms. Being together again after so long apart felt like coming home. They spent a blissful week exploring the city, talking for hours, and simply savoring each other's presence. Saying goodbye was difficult, but knowing they'd be able to see each other more frequently made it easier to bear. Over the next few months, they alternated visits between New York and Sophia's home city. With each reunion, their bond grew stronger. As Ethan's time in New York drew to a close, Sophia began to worry about what would happen next. Would they go back to being separated by an ocean? The thought filled her with dread. But Ethan had a surprise up his sleeve. During Sophia's final visit to New York, he took her to the top of the Empire State Building at sunset. As they gazed out at the glittering city below, Ethan got down on one knee. "Sophia," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "Meeting you in Thailand changed my life in ways I never could have imagined. You've shown me what true love and partnership can be. I don't ever want to be apart from you again." He pulled out a ring box and opened it to reveal a stunning diamond. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Sophia's face as joy overwhelmed her. "Yes!" she cried. "1,000 times yes!" As Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her in for a passionate kiss, Sophia marveled at how much her life had changed in just a year. She'd taken a leap of faith in traveling to Thailand, opening herself up to new experiences and love. Now she was engaged to the man of her dreams, with a bright future ahead of them. In the months that followed, Sophia and Ethan worked together to build their new life. They decided to split their time between London and Sophia's home city, allowing them both to pursue their careers while staying connected to family and friends. Planning a wedding across continents presented some unique challenges, but they tackled each obstacle as a team. On a warm summer day, Sophia and Ethan exchanged vows in a beautiful garden ceremony surrounded by loved ones. As she walked down the aisle towards her soon-to-be husband, Sophia's heart swelled with gratitude and love. She thought back to that rainy day a year and a half ago when she'd impulsively signed up to volunteer in Thailand. She could never have imagined then where that decision would lead her. During the reception, Ethan surprised Sophia by unveiling a painting he'd been working on in secret. It depicted the temple in Chiang Mai where they'd first met, with two figures, clearly meant to be them, in the foreground. Sophia's eyes filled with happy tears as she took in every detail of the meaningful artwork. "To remind us always of where our journey began," Ethan said softly, wrapping his arms around her from behind, "and to celebrate how far we've come." Sophia turned in his embrace, overcome with emotion. "I love you so much," she whispered, before kissing him deeply. As they swayed together on the dance floor later that evening, Sophia reflected on the incredible path that had led her to this moment. She'd taken a risk in pursuit of adventure and self-discovery, and found the love of her life in the process. Her heart was full of joy, gratitude, and excitement for the future she and Ethan would build together. In the years that followed, Sophia and Ethan's love only grew stronger as they faced life's ups and downs as partners. They traveled the world together, volunteered in communities in need, and eventually welcomed two beautiful children into their family. Through it all, they never forgot the magical time in Thailand that had brought them together. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Ethan surprised Sophia with a trip back to Chiang Mai. As they strolled hand in hand through the temple where they'd first met, Sophia was struck by how much had changed, and how much had stayed the same. The connection and love she felt for Ethan was as strong as ever, deepened by the years they'd spent building a life together. Standing in the spot where Ethan had been sketching that fateful day, Sophia turned to her husband with a radiant smile. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" Ethan asked, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "For everything," Sophia replied. "For loving me, for building this beautiful life with me, for being my partner in every sense of the word." Ethan pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "Thank you for taking a chance on love," he murmured. "For being brave enough to open your heart to me. You've made me happier than I ever dreamed possible." As they shared a tender kiss, Sophia's heart overflowed with love and gratitude. She thought of the lonely, unfulfilled woman she'd been before coming to Thailand, and marveled at how far she'd come. By taking a risk and stepping out of her comfort zone, she'd found adventure, purpose, and the truest love she could have imagined. Hand in hand, Sophia and Ethan continued their stroll through the temple grounds, reminiscing about the past and dreaming of the future. Whatever life had in store for them, Sophia knew they would face it together, partners, lovers, and best friends for life.